After months of build-up and anticipation, it finally officially happened. Aaron Rodgers is joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. In typical Rodgers dramatic fashion, what could be his final season in the NFL will be a Steelers schedule that sees him facing off against his former team, the Green Bay Packers, as well as the rest of the NFC North. You just can't make this up. For a guy that has dated race car drivers, supermodels, famous actresses, his final farewell puts all of that easily to shame. You think that's going too far? His matchup against his former beloved Packers team will be on Sunday Night Football. How does it get any better than that? In unbelievable fashion, the NFL had that game bookmarked as a Sunday night game in the schedule release, just in case Aaron was in the black and gold. Now that the riddle is solved, the game is immediately a top 10 matchup in the 2025 season. Jordan Love finally gets to take a jab at his mentor, and we get to see if the Padawan can overcome his Jedi Master with two blue bloods in some of the most storied franchises in history, duking it out under the lights. You think this is going to be fun to watch? Well, how about adding another former team to the list? The Steelers are on the road facing the New York Jets in Week 1 to start off his campaign. Cue Justin Fields and New York Jet Jaws revenge music. This game isn't just big because it's Fields' first starting opportunity in New York, but it's against a former nemesis. Justin was unable to defeat Aaron and the Packers when he was playing quarterback in Chicago for the Bears. And it's a presentation of a chance to knock out a colossal opponent for the first time in his career. He's trying to bloom with Game Green now. It's no secret either that Aaron was dumbfounded by the way that the Jets head coach Aaron Glenn handled the situation when it was undecided whether Rodgers would come back to the Jets. Rodgers flew across the country and met with Glenn, and in what was described as a weird and incredibly brief encounter with Glenn, shooting any possibility of a return out of the air within basically seconds. We know Rodgers has taken things incredibly personally over the years, this being one a bit more embarrassing than what we have seen previously. So we'll have to see how motivated he is again to get this win Week 1 against the Jets. Speaking of former Lions coaches like Aaron Glenn that are new head coaches, how about new Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson? Before Johnson even gets a crack at the Packers themselves for the very first time as a coach in December, he gets to face Aaron at Soldier Field the Sunday before Thanksgiving. There wouldn't be much better of an early Thanksgiving meal for Bears fans than to see their team run Rodgers out of the building and to have a coach with an undefeated record versus A-Rod. That would be no small feat. That would speed up the process by light years of Bears fans approving their coach. You have to remember, Soldier Field is the site of which the last time Aaron set foot in, he chirped at some Bears fans in the crowd, which might well have been every Bears fan in the world or in existence shouting, "I still own you! I still own you!" Yeah, you can put your money on Navy and Orange that Soldier will be sold out with fans clamoring for tickets to potentially see their star quarterback, Caleb Williams, face his favorite quarterback as a kid, Aaron Rodgers, for the one and probably only time. Also to the point of filling in a stadium. Like, have you ever seen a Steelers game when they're playing on the road? They travel as well as any fan base with a terrible towel. I'll be at this game, so hopefully there's some cold weather to add a winter and traditional feel to this massive clash. Staying on the topic of facing former rivals still, one of the more enticing matchups of the year is Rodgers facing first-year starter and Michigan national champion quarterback J.J. McCarthy. This game is on September 28th at Croke Park in Dublin, Ireland. And you can bet big cheese that Rodgers still remembers some of those Vikings players, former veteran safety Harrison, the Hitman Smith, as well as former longtime teammate in Green Bay, if you remember, the guy that's now taking the bulk of the carries in Kevin O'Connell's high-flying offense, Aaron Jones. I don't know how Rodgers is perceived overseas, but I bet there will be some Packer fans showing their support for Aaron. And I'm putting the over-under for Rodgers jerseys somewhere in the crowd at about 12,000. To that point, though, every Packer fan should be rooting big time for Aaron to knock off their divisional rival in the Minnesota Vikings. They present a threat every year now in the race for NFC North supremacy. In Week 2 against the Seahawks, let's keep it rolling. It's not just Rodgers facing his former team. It's also his number one target, DK Metcalf's first game against his former team. Obviously, Aaron didn't play for Seattle, but DK played for Seattle after they shipped him out to the Steel City for a second-round pick. What makes this matchup even more enticing besides that is the fact that Seattle used that pick they got in return for DK and paired it with their third rounder in the 2025 NFL Draft to trade up and select Nick Emenwari, the freak 6'3", 227-pound safety out of South Carolina at pick number 35. To steal words from Chris Collinsworth, now here's a guy that some people call a hybrid. Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas is what this guy screams to me. Something like that. I'd put some expensive cheese on the line to wager that Rodgers still wants payback for that crazy comeback in which he lost to the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game in 2015. Keeping the spirit of losses in conference championship games, Josh Allen lost another one to Patrick Mahomes last season, and Rodgers has a date with the MVP and a matchup that was set on November 30th in Pittsburgh the Sunday after Thanksgiving. I'm sure Aaron still has a bike from his Packer training camp days to work off some of the weight the day before on that Saturday, because that Saturday, the day before that game, is of course the final week of the regular season in college football, where we will see rival games galore. If the Steelers resemble anything of the team they were last year, this will be quite an important matchup in the AFC standings, and who knows, if the Jets hang in there, they could be in a position to be rooting for Aaron in this game to help them out in the divisional race if the Steelers are able to knock off the Buffalo Bills. Because Rodgers is now playing in the AFC North, that means he will play Joe Burrow twice this year. The first of which is, of course, a Thursday night game. Go figure for the NFL. Once again, these two games are must watch, not just the Thursday night game. And this isn't only because of the rivalry elements of Bengals Steelers, but seeing one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Aaron face the guy many consider to be the most dangerous of the trio of Josh Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. After all, Burrow is the only one from that group of elite quarterbacks that has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. They don't play until the grass starts to turn brown, and that only adds to the impact of the matchups for this particular one between the Steelers and the Ravens. They're going to play twice in less than a month. The number of Hall of Famers in this game is too many to count, from Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Jonathan Ogden, Terry Bradshaw, Webster, Mean Joe Green, Franco Harris, the list goes on and on. So it's only fitting that we'll get to see future Hall of Fame Rodgers face off against who could be also future Hall of Fame quarterback Lamar Jackson, and in both times, it's going to be in cold weather. Let's get this rivalry back between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Thankfully for Jared Goff, though, in his rematch against his old A-Rod former foe and fellow Berkeley alum, I must add, this will not be a game that Goff will have to play Aaron in the cold. Him and his reigning number one seed Detroit Lions will play host on the winter solstice, December 21st, to the Steelers. You might not believe it, but Goff is actually 4-1 versus Rodgers in his career. And if the Lions fast track tells us anything to keep him going from 5-1, we'll take a healthy Aaron and an effective one. Again, many NFC North fans will be looking for a small Christmas present in the form of a Lions loss. And unless we see Rodgers face another one of those four teams in the Super Bowl, this will be Rodgers' final career game against an NFC North opponent. Hopefully this one is something like their matchup when Aaron played at Goff's Lions at the Coliseum on a Sunday, late October day, back in 2018. If you remember that game, Green Bay was down by 2 with about 1:55 left, and the Packers got the football, ready to roll it down the field, and then on the kickoff, their returner Ty Montgomery fumbled, handing the ball to Goff to kneel the ball 3 times and to get the Rams a victory. And I think that put the Rams at 8-0 that year. So history tells us that Aaron will go down in history as one of the great all-time quarterbacks. History tells us that Aaron will go down as one of the great all-time quarterbacks in the NFL, who ran upon some misfortune and tough matchups that led to his ultimate 1-4 career record in NFC Championship games. His polarizing nature in the media has been fascinating for the last 20 years. So what is one more go-around come September? All I know is I will be watching intently. Thank you so much to everyone for watching this video. This was a whole bunch of fun to make. As a Chicago diehard Bears fan, I'm fired up to watch to root against Aaron, to root for him against some of those NFC opponents. So make sure to subscribe for more content like this going forward, and I will catch you next time on Blitz with Blinder. Appreciate you.